My fiancé insisted on wearing his ex's locket, saying, "It's a part of my history." I said, "History is important, so I made him part of mine." His jaw dropped when I took back the engagement ring to put it in a family vault. I, Melissa Harper, 34, had been dating Andrew Stevens, 32, for 3 years. We'd been living together for 18 months and engaged for 8. At my age, I wasn't playing games anymore. I'd already wasted 2 years in my late 20s with someone who wasn't ready to commit. The biological clock wasn't just ticking, it was practically screaming. Andrew seemed different. We had matching life goals, incredible chemistry, supportive families, everything I'd been looking for as I approached my mid-30s with that constant reminder that fertility doesn't wait. My marketing career was finally hitting its stride. I'd worked hard to establish myself in a competitive field, networking relentlessly, attending every industry conference that could advance my position. At 34, I knew the value of strategic planning, whether in campaign launches or life decisions. I couldn't afford to waste time on relationships that weren't going anywhere, especially not when my contemporaries were already settled with mortgages, minivans, and matching family Christmas cards. There was just one thing that bothered me: this gold pendant necklace Andrew always wore. When we first started dating, I asked about it casually over coffee during our second date. He said it was just jewelry and changed the subject to asking about my weekend plans. Fair enough. We were new, feeling each other out. I didn't push, but 3 years later, engaged, planning our future together, looking at houses with white picket fences and discussing converting spare bedrooms into nurseries, the mystery necklace was starting to feel weird, especially since he never took it off. Not in the shower, not during our most intimate moments, not even when we dressed up for my company's annual gala. Never. The relationship timeline felt right for someone my age. We'd moved past the honeymoon phase, survived our first major fight about his tendency to leave dishes in the sink, navigated the awkwardness of meeting each other's parents, and even made it through the stress of my promotion requiring longer hours and frequent travel. We'd discussed everything that mattered: kids, yes to, religion, casual Christianity, finances, joint account for shared expenses, and even whose job would take priority if relocation became necessary. I thought we'd covered all the important ground. Last Thursday, we were having dinner with my sister Jessica and her husband at our favorite Italian place downtown. A few drinks in, the conversation flowing easily, Jessica suddenly goes, "I still can't believe you wear Celine's necklace everywhere." Andrew shot her a death glare that could freeze hell. The temperature at our table seemed to drop 10 degrees instantly. I played dumb, taking a careful sip of my Chianti while my mind started racing. "Celine?" I asked, keeping my voice light and curious. Jessica, tipsy and completely oblivious to the tension crackling across the table, continued without missing a beat. "Yeah, his ex. They dated for like 4 years. He gave her that pendant before she moved to California for that tech job." The table went silent. Our server, approaching with the dessert menu, seemed to sense the sudden shift in atmosphere and quietly retreated. Andrew's face went from pale to crimson in the span of 3 seconds. I took another sip of wine and smoothly changed the subject to Jessica's upcoming vacation plans. But inside, my marketing-trained mind was already analyzing this new information, categorizing it, filing it away for later processing. 4 years, California, tech job. The pendant I'd been staring at for 3 years had belonged to someone who'd shared 4 years of Andrew's life, longer than our entire relationship. That night, back at our shared apartment, the one where we'd carefully chosen furniture together, where we'd painted the walls a warm sage green that we'd both loved, where we'd planned our future and talked about converting the spare bedroom into a nursery within the next 2 years, I brought it up as calmly as I could manage. "So, the necklace is from Celine?" He got defensive immediately, his shoulders tensing as he turned away from hanging up his jacket. "It's just a piece of jewelry." "A piece of jewelry that you never take off. From your ex of 4 years. "It doesn't mean anything." The dismissiveness in his tone irritated me more than I expected. "Then why wear it constantly?" "Because I like it. It's pretty. I stared at him, feeling that familiar surge of frustration that every woman over 30 knows too well, the exhaustion of having to explain basic relationship dynamics to a grown man. Andrew, you're wearing another woman's gift 24/7 while planning our wedding. Can you see why that might bother me? He exploded with an intensity that caught me off guard. God, you're so insecure. It's just a necklace. Celine means nothing to me. Then take it off. No, I shouldn't have to change who I am because of your jealousy. The word jealousy hit wrong. This wasn't about jealousy. This was about respect, boundaries, and the basic courtesy you show someone you're planning to spend your life with. Wearing your ex's jewelry isn't who you are. It's a choice, one that's disrespectful to our relationship. It's part of my history. My past made me who I am. You can't just erase that. I felt my marketing-trained patience wearing thin. In my professional life, I dealt with clients who tried to avoid making necessary changes to failing campaigns. The arguments were always the same: resistance to modification, attachment to things that weren't working, fear of letting go of familiar strategies. I'm not asking you to erase anything. I'm asking you not to wear his gift around your neck every day. This is controlling behavior, Melissa. Major red flag. I actually laughed, a short, sharp sound that surprised us both. The irony was almost funny. Me asking my fiancé not to wear his ex's necklace is controlling? What would you call refusing to take it off? Self-respect. I won't be manipulated into changing myself. We went in circles for 2 hours, the same arguments repeating like a broken marketing campaign that couldn't find its target audience. He absolutely refused to stop wearing it. Said if I loved him, I'd accept his whole history, every piece of it, no questions asked. At 34, after watching friends waste years on men who kept pieces of their past more sacred than their present relationships, I was done with this conversation. Fine, I said finally, my voice steady despite the decision crystallizing in my mind. History is important. I agree with you on that. He looked shocked but pleased, the tension in his shoulders finally releasing. Really? You understand? Completely. History shapes us. We went to bed that night with him thinking he'd won, but I'd already decided what I was going to do. As he brushed his teeth, still wearing that damn necklace, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind working through the implications like I was developing a comprehensive marketing strategy. Every successful campaign required careful planning, timing, and execution. The morning after our fight, I called my mom during my lunch break at the office, stepping into an empty conference room for privacy. Hey, remember Great Aunt Louise's jewelry collection? The one in the safety deposit box? Of course, sweetheart. Why, Mud? Mom's voice carried that slight note of concern that mothers perfect over decades of practice. I need to access it. Want to put Andrew's engagement ring with the family pieces for safekeeping. Oh, that's unusual. Is everything okay? The concern in her voice deepened, and I could practically see her frowning through the phone. Just thinking about family history, traditions, you know. I kept my voice light, professional, the same tone I used when presenting campaign strategies to skeptical clients. Mom gave me the bank information without too many more questions, though I could hear the hesitation. I had signing authority since I was supposed to inherit some pieces anyway, something we'd arranged 2 years ago when Louise passed and left her substantial collection to the family women. That evening, Andrew was at his weekly poker game with his engineering buddies, a tradition that had started during his college years and continued every Thursday like clockwork. I carefully took the ring box from where I kept it in my jewelry drawer next to my grandmother's pearls and the watch my parents had given me for my college graduation. The ring I'd admired for months, that he'd spent $8,500 of his savings on, custom designed with my dream specifications after I dropped enough hints over 3 years together. Round cut, platinum setting, classic but with a unique twisted band. Everything I'd ever described as perfect. I drove to the bank through evening traffic, my hands steady on the wheel, despite the significance of what I was doing. This wasn't impulsive. This was strategic. I placed the ring in the safety deposit box with the other family jewelry, Louise's Art Deco pieces, my great-grandmother's wedding set, the Victorian brooch that had been passed down for 4 generations, and took photos of everything for documentation. The ring looked right at home among the other family treasures. When Andrew got home around 11, smelling faintly of beer and cigars, I was cooking late dinner like normal, having worked late myself on a particularly demanding client campaign. "Smells amazing," he said, kissing my cheek in the casual way that had become routine. The necklace caught the kitchen light as he moved, still there, of course, like a golden reminder of his priorities. "Thanks. Hey, I've been thinking about our conversation last night." "Yeah?" He looked immediately wary, his poker night relaxation evaporating. "I realized you're absolutely right. History is part of who we are, so I've decided to honor my family's traditions too." "What traditions?" He grabbed a beer from the refrigerator, leaning against the counter with forced casualness. "Well, in my family, engagement rings are kept in the family vault until the wedding day for safekeeping. It's an old tradition that Louise started." He laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. "What? No, it's not. Your sister wore hers the whole engagement." "Different branch of the family. My great-aunt Louise started this tradition with her side. Since her ring collection is going to me, we should honor her wishes." The lie came easily, delivered with the same confidence I used when presenting market research to clients. "Melissa, what are you talking about? Where's my ring?" "In the family safety deposit box with the other heirloom pieces. Don't worry, you'll get it back on our wedding day." I stirred the pasta sauce, keeping my movements casual, domestic. His face went through several emotions in rapid succession: confusion, realization, anger. It was like watching him process a complex engineering problem, except this time the variables included emotions he clearly hadn't anticipated. "You took my ring?" "I secured our family heirloom, just like you secure your historical jewelry." I gestured toward his necklace with my wooden spoon. "That's completely different." "How? Your necklace has sentimental value from your past. The ring has sentimental value from my family's past. Both deserve respect, right?" I turned to face him fully, crossing my arms and adopting the same reasonable tone he'd used the night before. "The ring is mine. You gave it to me. And Celine gave you that necklace, yet you still wear it." The parallel was perfect, and from his expression, he was beginning to understand exactly what I was doing. "This is ridiculous. Give me my ring back." "After the wedding, it's tradition." I shrugged, as if this were the most natural thing in the world. "Melissa, I'm serious. Get my ring now." "I can't. Bank's closed. Besides, it's family tradition. You wouldn't want me to disrespect my history, would you?" I used his exact words from the night before and watched him recognize them. He stared at me for a long moment, mouth slightly open, then grabbed his phone from the counter with sharp, frustrated movements. "What are you doing?" "Calling your mom. This is insane." He did call her, and I have to give my mother credit. She played along perfectly. I'd sent her a quick text during my drive home from the bank, just enough context for her to understand that this was important. "Oh, yes, dear." I heard her voice through the speaker, warm and grandmotherly. "The family vault tradition, very important to us. I'm so glad Melissa remembered. Louise would be so proud." Andrew hung up, defeated for now, staring at me with a mixture of frustration and grudging respect. He was beginning to realize that I could play the same game he'd been playing, except I was better at it. The next 3 days were tense. He kept demanding the ring back with increasing urgency, as if the physical absence of it made our engagement feel less real. I kept calmly explaining it was tradition, using his own logic about respecting history and not changing fundamental aspects of who we are. He wore the necklace like armor. I didn't wear the ring I'd been proudly displaying for 8 months. Fair's fair, as they say. But then Monday happened, and everything shifted into a different gear entirely. I came home early from my marketing job, having wrapped up a client presentation ahead of schedule. The spring campaign for our biggest retail client had gone better than expected, and I was riding that professional high as I climbed the stairs to our second-floor apartment. I had plans to surprise Andrew with his favorite Thai takeout and maybe finally have a rational conversation about the whole necklace situation. Instead, I found Andrew in the bedroom with a jewelry box I'd never seen before, sitting on our bed like he was conducting some kind of private inventory. The afternoon light streaming through our sheer curtains illuminated several pieces laid out on our sage green comforter. "What's all this?" He jumped like I'd caught him with his hand in the cookie jar, quickly moving to close the unfamiliar wooden box. "Just organizing." "Organizing jewelry from Celine you never told me about?" I stepped closer, getting a better look at the items spread across our bed. A delicate silver bracelet, pearl earrings that looked expensive, and a sleek women's watch that definitely wasn't mine. "They're just mementos." "Mementos you keep in our bedroom?" The bedroom where we'd made love, planned our future, discussed baby names, and argued about whose turn it was to do laundry. The intimacy of the space made this discovery feel like a violation. "They don't mean anything." I'd heard this song before. "Then why keep them?" Because they're mine, my history." I nodded slowly, my marketing brain automatically cataloging this new information and cross-referencing it with everything I thought I knew about my relationship. "Cool, more history. Let me help you preserve it properly." I took out my phone and started photographing each piece methodically, like I was documenting evidence for a case study. "What are you doing?" "Documenting your historical collection for insurance purposes." I kept my voice professionally neutral, the same tone I used when presenting quarterly analytics to skeptical clients. "Melissa, stop." "Why? If they're just meaningless mementos, what's the problem?" I continued photographing, making sure to capture clear images of each item along with today's date stamp. That's when I noticed something else that made my blood run cold. A men's watch in the box, definitely not Andrew's style. Too modern, too expensive, and definitely not something that belonged to Celine based on the women's jewelry surrounding it. "Whose watch is this?" "Nobody's." His voice had gone up half an octave. "Andrew." "Whose watch?" "Josh's." The name hit me like cold water. Who the hell is Josh? "Just a friend." "A friend who gives you watches?" I picked up the timepiece, noting its weight, its obvious quality. This wasn't a casual gift between buddies. "He left it here once. I forgot to return it." "When was he here?" My voice stayed calm, but internally, warning bells were starting to ring like a fire alarm. Silence stretched between us like a taut wire. "Andrew, when was Josh in our bedroom?" "Last month when you were at that conference." My blood went cold. The Chicago Marketing Summit. 3 days of intensive networking, keynote speeches, and workshops that were crucial for my career advancement. I'd been excited about the opportunity to connect with industry leaders and learn about emerging digital strategies, the kind of professional development that women my age needed to stay competitive in a rapidly evolving field. "You had a man in our bedroom while I was gone?" "It's not like that. He was just helping me move furniture." I looked pointedly at the dresser, which occupied the exact same spot it had claimed for over a year. "Try again." "He took it off to lift things. We moved some stuff around and then put it back." The explanation sounded rehearsed, like he'd been practicing it. I walked around the room, noting that every piece of furniture remained exactly where it had been when I left for Chicago. The bed against the north wall, the dresser by the window, my vanity in the corner where the morning light was best for applying makeup. "What did you move exactly?" He burst into tears then, and I recognized the manipulation tactic immediately. I'd seen it in client meetings when campaign performance metrics didn't meet expectations. Deflect through emotion, make the questioner feel guilty for asking reasonable questions. "Why are you interrogating me? This is emotional abuse. Having a man in our bedroom while I'm gone and keeping his watch is sketchy. That's not abuse. That's a reasonable concern." I kept my voice level, professional. The same tone I used when clients tried to blame poor campaign results on market conditions rather than strategic failures. "Nothing happened." "Then call him right now. Put him on speaker. Ask for the watch back." I can't." "Why? He's married now. It would be weird." "Weirder than keeping his watch in your jewelry box?" The irony wasn't lost on me. Here was Andrew, lecturing me about respecting history while actively hiding evidence of current inappropriate relationships. He had no answer for that, just stood there with tears streaking down his face like a guilty child caught lying to his parents. That night, after Andrew had retreated to the living room couch in what I suspected was calculated drama, I made another decision. The marketing strategist in me knew that successful campaigns required comprehensive research. You didn't make major budget decisions based on incomplete data, and I wasn't about to make life-altering relationship decisions without knowing the full scope of what I was dealing with. I took a personal day from work the next morning, telling my assistant I needed to handle some family matters. It wasn't entirely a lie. I was about to discover whether my chosen family was built on solid ground or quicksand. As soon as Andrew left for his software development job, briefcase in hand and necklace glinting gold against his navy shirt, I started my research. First stop, social media. I'd always been strategic about my online presence for professional reasons, but I'd never used those skills for personal investigation before. Deep dive into Andrew's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere Josh might appear. I found him quickly in group photos from last year. Lots of casual shots at barbecues and sporting events, but also several that looked pretty cozy for just friends. Arms around shoulders, inside jokes in the comments, the kind of familiarity that spoke of regular contact. Found Josh's profile next. Married 6 months ago, right around when Andrew proposed to me. Interesting timing that seemed too coincidental to ignore. Then I found Celine, still in California, but very active on Facebook. Her bio included "Missing my East Coast love" with a heart emoji, posted 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, while Andrew and I were discussing wedding venues and debating between spring or fall ceremonies. I screenshotted everything, building a digital file like I was preparing a comprehensive campaign analysis. Then I did something I'm not proud of, but don't regret. I checked our phone bill online. We shared a family plan. I paid for it as part of our shared expenses, all above board and transparent. What I found made my stomach drop. Hundreds of texts to a number I didn't recognize over the past year. The Josh timeline matched up perfectly. Heavy texting until 6 months ago, then nothing. Like he got married and suddenly cut contact. But there was another number that made everything click into place. Regular calls, recent ones lasting 15 to 20 minutes each. Always when I was at work handling client crises or at the gym maintaining the fitness routine that kept me confident in my 30s. I reverse searched it online. California number. He was still talking to Celine. I sat on our bedroom floor, the bedroom where we'd planned our future, where I'd dreamed of the family we'd build, where I'd imagined growing old together, just processing this information. 3 years together, 18 months living together, 8 months engaged, and he was wearing Celine's necklace while having regular calls with her. At my age, every year counted toward my fertility window and career trajectory. I couldn't afford to waste any more time on someone who wasn't fully committed to building a future with me. That evening, I acted completely normal. Made dinner, discussed our respective workdays, watched Netflix. We fell asleep on opposite sides of our king-size bed, the distance between us feeling wider than ever. Saturday morning, Andrew had plans with his college buddies for their monthly hiking trip. Perfect timing for phase 2 of my investigation. I went back to the bank, not for the ring. That was staying exactly where it belonged, but to add something else to the safety deposit box. A letter to myself, dated and notarized at the UPS store next door, documenting everything I discovered. Insurance for later, should I need legal protection. Then I made some calls of my own. First, our wedding venue. We'd put down a $3,000 deposit for next spring after visiting 12 different locations. Hi, this is Melissa Harper. I need to check on our refund policy for the Harper-Stevens wedding. Let me check our records. Okay, you're outside the full refund window, but you can get 60% back if you cancel within the next 2 weeks. After that, it drops to 25%. What if the groom cancels? Whoever signed the contract needs to cancel. I'd signed it, naturally. I was better with paperwork and details. Next, the photographer whose artistic style had taken us months to select, the caterer we'd chosen after tasting menus at 6 different companies, the band that had impressed us at my coworker's wedding last fall. All contracts in my name because I'd handled the logistics while Andrew focused on his demanding project deadlines. I didn't cancel anything yet, but I made a comprehensive list with deadlines and refund percentages. Strategic planning, just like launching a major campaign. Sunday, Andrew noticed I wasn't wearing my engagement ring. "Where's your ring?" he asked over our usual weekend brunch. "In the vault with yours for safekeeping." "Melissa, this is getting ridiculous." "Is it? You're preserving your history with Celine's necklace. I'm preserving our future with proper security. Both equally valid, right?" "They're not the same thing." "You're right. Your necklace represents a relationship you refuse to let go of. Our rings represented a future we're building together. Or they did." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just thinking about history versus future." He spent the rest of the day on his phone, typing frantically. The California number. I'd bet my marketing bonus on it. Monday was when he made his big move. I came home from a particularly successful client meeting to find his parents in our living room. Intervention style. "Melissa," his father started, using his authoritative engineering voice, "Andrew tells us you've taken his engagement ring." "I've placed it in our family vault per tradition." "That's not normal, honey," his mother said gently, the same tone she probably used when Andrew was 5 and refusing to share his toys. "Neither is wearing your ex's necklace every day while maintaining regular phone contact with her. But here we are." His father tried the direct approach. "Give him the ring back, Melissa." "No." "Excuse me?" "I said no. It's in safekeeping until the wedding, if there is one." "Are you threatening our son?" I pulled out my phone, calmly displaying the screenshots I'd organized like a presentation deck. "I'm stating facts. Your son wears his ex's jewelry daily, keeps other people's items hidden in our bedroom, and has regular phone calls with the woman who gave him the necklace. Celine's Facebook posts, phone records, Josh's watch, it's all documented, but I'm the problem for securing an expensive ring?" The silence stretched uncomfortably. Andrew's face had gone white. "Phone calls?" his mother asked quietly. 20-minute conversations with Celine in California, always when I'm at work or traveling for business. They left shortly after, the family solidarity cracking under the weight of evidence. Andrew was furious but panicked. "You spied on me!" "I looked at publicly available information and bills I pay. That's not spying, that's due diligence. Celine and I are just friends. Friends who talk for 20 minutes while I'm building my career, who exchange romantic social media posts, who gave you jewelry you refuse to remove. Sure, just friends." "Give me my ring back." "No." "I'll call the police." "Do it. Explain how your fiancé secured a family heirloom in a family safety deposit box. I'm sure they'll prioritize that." He gave me an ultimatum instead. "If you don't give me that ring back by tomorrow, we're done." "Okay." His shock was almost comical. "That's it? You're threatening to end our engagement over me storing jewelry safely while you wear another woman's necklace and maintain secret contact with her." The irony is remarkable. Tuesday morning, I executed my exit strategy with the precision of a product launch. Canceled all the vendors, recovered $6,000 of our $9,500 investment, and texted Andrew, "The engagement is off, your belongings are boxed by the door." 6 months later, I'm dating Peter, who collects vintage books, not ex-girlfriend's jewelry. When I told him this story, he laughed until he cried. "You donated her necklace to charity?" "Raised $200 for the animal shelter. Seemed fitting." The engagement ring remains in the family vault, waiting for someone who understands that history informs the future but shouldn't control it. History taught me that when someone shows you their priorities, believe them.